Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel and this amazing Svelte series. I'm Aditya. In this video, we are going to see the concept of reactive variables and reactive statements. So without any further ado, let's begin. Alright, so here we have the counter component that we got when we installed this Svelte project or created this Svelte project. And I have just brought in our that component in our app.svelte or in our app component by just importing it and just rendering it here with HTML tag syntax. Now here you will see we have a variable count and then we have a button here and we have some on-click functionality on this button. We will see this concept of what is this, like what's happening here. But for now, let's say we have an on-click functionality where we hit that button, the increment function is called. So this is just an arrow function, so it's getting called and that function is just incrementing the count. Now if you notice, if I click this button, yes, the count is getting incremented. Now here, this thing, the count, is acting as a reactive variable. Now what's this? So if you're coming from view, you might have seen in composition API the concept of ref or reactive. If you're coming from React, you might have seen the concept of useState. In a similar way, in Svelte, we have reactive variables, and they are, whenever you use this assignment statement or whenever you assign a variable, by default they become reactive. For instance, when we increment the count through our like this button, a JavaScript function is triggered. So increment through a JavaScript is reflected in the HTML. So if I go back over here, the count variable is getting incremented by 1 in JavaScript, but it's getting reflected in our HTML. So let's take another example. Let's say we have another state or another reactive variable. In this case, let's say we have dislike. Dislike. In this case, we will start that from 0. And here, as it's dislike, we can also have the same increment function, but for dislike. So here I'm going to say const, let's say we can also have like a simple function declaration, increment dislike. And here we just need to do or just need to increment dislike by 1. Now if we just have another button over here which calls the dislike increment dislike function, and we will say dislike count is, and here we could say like count is, and here we just need to say dislike because that's the state or variable we have taken over here. Now whenever we hit this button, you will see that dislike count is incremented, same for the like count. So that's great. Now what if, let's say we want to display a statement here. Now in this case we are displaying like this is a title string, but let's say we are displaying like you have 4 likes, 4 dislikes. So we want to do something like that. Let's do this. Let's wrap everything in this div. Let's take all this in here and let's put that title component over here. So we just need to import it from our this from the same folder. We just need to import the title component. So import title from title.svelte. Now here we can pass the prop. In this case, we just need to pass or take some variable and we can pass it over here. Now one way to do it is we write that statement as it is over here, or we could take it in a separate variable. So let's say we do something like this. Let's sentence. So because that's the sentence we want to print. And here we say you have dollar count likes and dislikes, whatever dislike you like the person has given, so dislikes, and then we just pass that as a prop over here. Now what happens when we do something like this? So it says okay, let's just remove this from here, and if we go back again over here, so it says you have 0 likes and 0 dislikes. So if we increment the count, you will see nothing happen here. If we decrement the count, if we increment the dislike count, nothing happened for that as well. Now if we just put it something like this straight over here, let's say we put that straight over here. And now if we give it a try, you will see it works now. What's happening behind the scene? Well, when we have reactive variables declared as a value or being used as a value to another reactive variable, the change in that sentence can only be triggered if we put this statement either in this increment dislike function or decrement dislike function. Or in other words, if we assign this sentence value, like if we do something like this, say sentence equal to, and then we put this back again over here, and the same thing we need to print or use it over here, and then it will work fine as it is. However, when we don't want such a mechanism where we don't want to change these values based on a function, or we don't want to have it change inside a function, but we just want them, or we want a value which is dependent on two other reactive values. In that case, the concept of reactive statements is very useful. For that, you don't need to pass any event, you don't need to have it work inside a statement, sorry, inside a function. All it needs is just one reactive variable on which its value should be dependent on. In this case, the sentence value, which is this value, even though it has this you have likes and dislikes, that's going to be a static works, but the count and dislikes count is going to get changed. So the overall sentence value is going to get changed based on whatever change happens in the like and dislike. Now, if we put that statement as it is over here, like this, whenever there is a change in count and dislike, as this, there is a re-render happening behind the scene. That's why the change is reflected over here. If we want to keep it in a variable like this, then in that case, what we could do is we can declare this sentence as a reactive statement. And to do that, you remove that let and just put a dollar and colon sign. Now, whenever Svelte encounters such thing, it will inject the let declaration for you. So we don't have to worry on that. And then we can use this sentence as a reactive statement. Now, if we save this and go over here, now if we see the change, you'll see everything works fine. So this reactive statement, you could consider very similar to computed properties in Vue and use effect, where use effect function is dependent on a use state in React. So if you're coming from React background, then maybe use effect function dependent on a use state. If you're coming from Vue background, then computed properties dependent on some ref or reactive value. In the same way, this sentence is currently dependent on these two values. So whenever there is a change in count or dislike, there will be a change in the value of this sentence, or like this overall sentence. Now, it's not necessary that you need to use like a declarative value like this, or you just need to use like an assignment value like this. You can also use it as a functional value, but all you need to make sure is that function returns that value. For instance, if let's say we have a function change statement, and here we just need to return that value. Now you'll say, okay, this might work, so let's see if this works, and we will also see if it doesn't work, why it won't work. So we just need to assign the value like this. And now if we go back over here, you will see nothing changes over here. Everything is as it is. The reason being, we are running this change statement function just once, which is initially, but we are not passing the value to this so that this function could be triggered again and can return a new value. So in this case, we need to pass the dependent reactive variables value, in this case count and dislike, and then we need to catch those values here, count value, dislike value, and then we just print them over here like this. And then if we go back again, everything works fine. Now, so far so we are seeing how to handle the reactivity for simple variables like integers, strings. But what if we have variables of type array? Let's take an example here. Let's say we have array of users, to be precise, users liked or users who like your post. So user like, something like that. And here we already have some users inside that array who have liked your post. Now, whenever someone likes it, you need to put that name inside this user like. So we can put it over here, or we can take it as a reactive value, but for reactive statement. But for now, let's say we want to put it inside our increment function, that whenever someone likes, we need to pass that user's name or user's username inside our users like array. Now let's say we take another variable, logged in user, and we just name it the name of the logged in user. Now if we just do something like this and just push the logged in user, so as this is array, we can use the push function of it, the inbuilt push function for array prototypes, and then we can push the new value inside the array. Now if we just display that over here, let's say users, or we can change it over here, users who liked your post or your article. It could be, we could say users like dot join and join it by. So we just convert the array into string, and then we can put it over here. If we go back again over here, we have that, and when we hit it, you will see even though we have added the user, but it is not reflected over here. The reason being, in Svelte, reactive variables are based on assignments. So in this case, once we push a value inside our like users like, even though it's a reactive variable, we need to reassign it with the new value. So in this case, we need to do users like equal to users like. So this new value, when it has the new pushed user, so this user being pushed inside that, we will assign the new value to the old users like variable. Now if we save this and give it a try, you will see that value gets added at the end. So this is how you can handle reactivity for array. Let's try it for object. So what if we have object? So let's say let user like object. So in this case, we will have name, say Adi, and here we want to just, let's say Aditya, and here we want to change the status. So status, if it's liked, we want to make it true. If it's not liked, we want to make it false. Now this we want to trigger on decrement or dislike. So let's go back to this increment dislike function, and here we will do user like object dot status equal to false. Now let's see if this change is reflected. So here we are going to say users user like status. We can print it over here, something like that. User like status, and let's see if that gets reflected when we have user like object dot status. Okay, so by default it is true. When we dislike, now it becomes false. So for object, you can, as it is related with the keys, you can straight away change the values. You don't need to reassign the object back to the entire object, right? So that's all in this video. In the next video, we will see the concept of data binding and how we can use this reactive variables and have it binded to the HTML elements. See you in the next video. Till the next time, goodbye.